Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Have you ever found yourself maybe looking at an old photo or just, thinking about time passing and felt that deep human urge to live forever?
Oh, absolutely. It's a fascination that feels almost baked into us. Think of the myths Zeus and Ganymede, right?
Right.
Or Shakespeare. Immortal longings in me.
Exactly. And that ancient feeling, it isn't just history, it's really the root of some incredibly bold modern science we're seeing today. It connects that old yearning with today's labs.
It really does. It's fascinating how that almost timeless aspiration has morphed into this very real scientific quest, pushing boundaries we never thought possible.
Yeah. So today we're diving into Long for This World, the strange science of immortality. We're going to try and unpack why we age, ask if it's really inevitable, and look at this, well, millennia-long quest to extend life. Sometimes a bit bizarre, right?
Definitely some strange turns along the way.
Our sources today draw from history, myth, philosophy, and some really cutting-edge biology. It all kind of revolves around this one book that journeys from those ancient stories right into the heart of modern research.
And our mission, as always, is to pull out the key insights, the most surprising bits, so you can get up to speed on a topic that, let's face it, touches every single one of us.
Right. So where do we start? How about a pub?
A pub sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Specifically, the Eagle Pub in Cambridge, England. This place is just steeped in history. Its foundations go back almost 1,000 years. King Canute's time.
Wow.
Yeah. You can imagine Elizabethan scholars maybe having a pint there, talking about immortality. And famously, of course, 1953, Watson and Crick burst in, shouting they'd found the secret of life DNA.
An amazing moment.
Yeah.
And it's decades later, maybe at the same corner table, who knows, where we meet a key figure for our deep dive today, Aubrey de Grey.
Ah, Aubrey. Quite the character.
He really is. Picture him, sort of medievally thin, this incredibly long beard, jeans, t-shirt, riding an old bike around Cambridge. You wouldn't forget him.
No, you wouldn't. And his claims are just as memorable. He's a leading gerontologist, and he's not shy about predicting we could live, well, 500 years, 1,000, maybe even 1,000,000.
A million years. That's hard to even grasp.
It is, and what really drives them, he says, is the sheer scale of suffering from aging. He talks about the 100,000 people dying from age-related infirmities every single day.
Every day.
Every day. He equates it to 30 World Trade Centers a day.
30. Wow. That really frames it differently. He's basically saying aging isn't natural. It's a catastrophe we need to stop.
Precisely. Which brings us neatly to our first area. This long, long history of wrestling with mortality, both in myth and early science.
Right. This fight goes back millennia. I mean, you find ancient Egyptian prescriptions for anti-wrinkle cream, supposedly effective myriads of times.
Always trying.
Always. And then there's the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? The oldest epic we have. He loses his friend Enkidu, goes searching for immortality, finds the plants.
But loses it twice, wasn't it? A snake gets it. He comes back empty-handed, just with his story.
Yeah, the inevitability of it. That resonates through so much history.
It does. And you see it in Western thought, too. The Hebrew Bible, Adam and Eve being cast out of Eden.
Lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever, so death becomes this, well, punishment almost.
Exactly, a consequence. But then you get thinkers like Francis Bacon and Roger Bacon even earlier who kind of flipped the script.
So,
They started seeing the recovery of original wisdom potentially leading back to immortality, not as sacrilege, but as a sacred scientific project.
that's a huge shift in thinking, isn't it? Science is a path back to Eden almost.
It really paved the way. Francis Bacon's History of Life and Death, I mean, it was full of these wild recipes, potions of gold, powdered pearls.
He even advised wearing scarlet waistcoats.
He did. And ironically, he died after stuffing a chicken with snow to see if cold could preserve it. Caught pneumonia.
Oh, the irony. And the Enlightenment had its own takes, right? Hobbes with life being nasty, brutish, and short.
Yes, and Benjamin Franklin, who was actually quite optimistic,
Yeah.
dreaming of curing old age itself.
Okay, fast forward to the 20th century. Things get messy. The book calls it turbulent and painfully confused.
That's a good way to put it. Some really wild fads popped up. You had Eli Metchnikoff convinced gut bacteria were poisoning us, so he drank sour milk daily.
Sour milk. Okay. But
Yeah.
it gets weirder, right? The monkey testicle graft.
Oh, yes. Inspired by Brown Sequard, popularized by Eugen Steinach, people were actually getting Steinicked. William Butler Yeats had it done.
The poet Yeats. Why?
He thought it gave him a burst of creativity. Great poetry and wild romance, he claimed. Shows the desperation, I think.
Definitely extreme. But amidst all that, there was a serious scientific claim that seemed promising for a while. Alexis Carrel.
Ah, yes, Carroll, Nobel laureate. He claimed he kept chicken heart cells alive, supposedly immortal, in a dish for decades. Big news at the time.
God.
But it turned out to be, well, an honest mistake at best, maybe even deception. His team was secretly adding fresh embryonic cells.
Ah, so not quite immortal then.
Not at all. The real breakthrough came in 1961 with Leonard Hayflick. He showed that normal human cells actually have a limit. They divide maybe 50 to 70 times, then they enter senescence, old age.
The Hayflick limit. So those cells went from symbols of immortality.
Through symbols of mortality, a huge turning point. It really focused the question.
Okay, so if our cells have this built-in limit, it brings us to the core biological question. Why do we age? Why do we get frail? It seems like one of biology's hardest problems.
It really is. You might just think, well, things fall apart. Common sense, maybe. But think about when you're young, say between 6 and 12. You don't fall apart then.
No, you get stronger, better, faster.
Exactly. So it's not just simple wear and tear like a machine. It defies that easy explanation.
So what did scientists think?
Well, back in 1883, a German biologist, August Weismann, had a pretty stark idea. He argued death is actually an adaptation.
An adaptation?
He thought immortality for complex creatures like us would be a luxury without a purpose. Worn-out individuals, he argued, are valueless, even harmful to the species because they take up resources. Death clears the stage for the young and healthy.
A bit brutal, but I see the evolutionary logic. Was that the final word?
Not quite. Peter Medawar, a Nobel laureate, came along with a really great insight that challenged Weismann. Medawar said aging is not an adaptation, it's more like an accident.
An accident? How does that work?
Think about nature. Most creatures, he pointed out, don't live long enough to grow up, let alone grow old. They get eaten, have accidents, starve.
Right. Bad luck gets them first.
Exactly. So natural selection doesn't really see genes that cause problems late in life. That has no purchase on them, because the animals carrying them are usually dead from other causes long before those genes kick in.
So evolution favors genes that help you survive and reproduce now, even if they have bad effects later.
Precisely. This leads to the disposable soma theory. Soma means body. The idea is our bodies are built primarily to reproduce effectively and quickly, not necessarily to last forever. Energy goes into reproduction, not long-term maintenance.
Why invest in upkeep for a retirement, as Medawar put it, that only 1 out of 10 will live to see?
Exactly that. Our bodies are, in an evolutionary sense, disposable after we've passed on our genes.
That sounds bleak. But you mentioned a twist for humans.
Yes, humans might be a special case. Our big brains, culture, language. This meant that older individuals, grandparents, actually retained value. They could pass on crucial knowledge, survival skills, childcare help.
Ah, the grandmother hypothesis. So for humans, longevity could be adaptive.
It's a strong argument. Even menopause might fit in here. Maybe it allows older women to invest energy in helping their existing children and grandchildren thrive, rather than having more babies themselves, a sort of knowledge gatherer niche.
Interesting. So evolution might have selected for longer human lifespans up to a point. But what about true immortality? Does anything achieve that?
Well, there's the hydra, the literal animal, a tiny freshwater creature. Looks like a little stick figure.
And it's immortal.
Studies by Daniel Martinez, following them for years, suggest they are practically immortal. They constantly renew their cells from stem cells. They just don't seem to show signs of aging.
Wow. So the obvious question then is,
why can't we do what the hydra does?
Exactly. But nature loves complexity, doesn't it? There's always a catch.
There usually is. And here's a real paradox. Maria Rudzinska studied a single-celled creature called Tokophria. It looks a bit like a hydra's body plan, just one cell. You'd think it would be immortal too, right? Like an amoeba splitting.
Makes sense.
But it's not. Tokophria actually ages and dies after a certain number of divisions. Even simpler than a hydra, yet it ages. It shows just how complex and, frankly, muddy the whole biology of aging is. It's not straightforward.
Okay, so it's complicated. Which brings us back to Aubrey de Grey and his more engineering-focused approach. If aging is this complex accumulation of problems, maybe we can fix them.
That's his core idea. We need to understand the cellular reality. You mentioned the phoenix earlier. Our bodies are constantly breaking down and rebuilding. Catabolism and anabolism.
Right, this incredible self-renewal.
But the book says, with each passing year, we perform the miraculous act of the phoenix less and less well. Things start to go wrong.
And one big suspect is in our power plants, the mitochondria.
Yes, the mitochondrial free radical theory. Remember, mitochondria generate our energy, ATP. But as a byproduct, they produce these reactive molecules, oxidants, or free radicals. Think of them like sparks flying off machinery.
And those sparks cause damage.
Over time, yes. They damage proteins, lipids, even the mitochondrial DNA itself. This theory suggests that this accumulated damage is a major driver of aging. Our own energy source is slowly wearing us down.
Sounds like a terrible design flaw, but de Grey sees it differently.
He does. He sees aging not as some inevitable decline, but as a medical problem. He views our bodies as incredibly complex molecular machines.
So if it's a machine, you can maintain it, repair it.
That's exactly his approach. He calls it SENS strategies for engineered negligible senescence. Basically, a program of continuous cleanup and repair, like maintaining a vintage car or an old house indefinitely.
And he is optimistic.
Extremely. He believes there are no technical obstacles to the cure for aging that can't be overcome. A very bold statement.
So what needs fixing? He has a list, right?
He does.
Yeah.
His 7 deadly things, or 7 types of damage that accumulate with age. Things like cell loss, mutations, accumulating waste inside cells, waste outside cells.
And his big idea is that we don't need to fully understand the incredibly complex process of metabolism itself.
Right. He controversially says, we don't have to understand metabolism. All we have to clean up is the detritus that metabolism lays down. That's the core of his engineering approach. Just clean up the mess.
Can you give an example of this mess, this garbage catastrophe?
A really clear one is macular degeneration, the common cause of vision loss in older people. Research by Janet Sparrow looked at this. Cells in the retina accumulate this junk molecule called A2E. It's a type of lipofuscin or age pigment.
Okay, so junk builds up. Where does it go?
The cells trying to deal with it. They sweep it into their lysosomes, which are supposed to be the cell's garbage disposal units.
Yeah.
But the lysosomes can't break down A2E effectively. It just builds up inside them. Over decades, a vital retinal cell might become, say, 20% junk. Imagine a camera lens that's 1/5 covered in dust.
You wouldn't see very well. And there's other eye junk, too, like drusen.
Yes, those little yellow deposits under the retina, more accumulated waste. And research by Ana Maria Cuervo shows that the lysosomes themselves, the cleanup crew, get weaker as we age. They perform autophagy, self-eating less effectively. It really becomes a garbage catastrophe.
Okay, so the disposal system fails. What's de Grey's solution? Does he have one for this?
He has a pretty radical idea, developed with John Archer. They thought graveyards contain centuries of human remains, presumably full of lipofuscin. But graveyards don't glow in the dark, right?
No, thankfully.
So something must be breaking that stuff down. Soil microbes. Archer had worked on bioremediation, using bacteria like Rhodococcus that can eat TNT.
Eat TNT. Wow.
Yeah. So the idea is, let's find microbes in graveyards or similar environments that have evolved enzymes to break down human cellular junk like lipofuscin.
And then use those enzymes in therapies. De Grey actually said we should dig in the old graveyards and steal the tools from the Lord of the Underworld.
He did. Very evocative language. Another target is those mitochondria again. They still have 13 crucial genes inside them for making key parts of the energy production machinery. These genes code for hydrophobic proteins.
Okay. Why is that a problem?
Because they're right there in the mitochondrial furnace, baking day and night, constantly exposed to those damaging free radicals.
Yeah.
Most mitochondrial genes actually migrated to the safety of the cell nucleus billions of years ago. These 13 are holdouts.
So de Grey suggests we finish the job. Use gene therapy to move those 13 genes into the nucleus too.
Exactly. Evolution didn't quite get there, so he argues we should intervene. It's all part of this engineering mindset.
But he stresses you can't just fix one thing, right? It's all interconnected.
Absolutely crucial point. You need to solve all 7 problems at once, he says, if you want to extend our lives dramatically. Otherwise, the weakest link will still break. Life is, after all, a chain.
Which leads us perfectly into the next phase. The debates within the field, the Methuselah Wars, and the actual breakthroughs happening now.
Right. Gerontology hasn't always been unified. There's been this divide, sometimes called the Methuselah Wars, between what the book calls skin out and skin in biologists.
Skin out versus skin in, what does that mean?
Skin out generally refers to evolutionary biologists, ecologists, naturalists. They tend to see aging as this unprogrammed, gradual breakdown, the result of evolutionary neglect, like Medawar argued. Skin in refers more to molecular and cell biologists, looking inside the cell for specific mechanisms, specific genes or pathways that control aging and could potentially be targeted.
Two different perspectives on the same problem.
Exactly.
Yep.
And what's fascinating is that both approaches yielded results. On the skin-in side, you had Michael Klass finding these long-lived mutant worms, C. elegans. He initially dismissed them, thinking it was just calorie restriction effects.
But it wasn't.
No. Tom Johnson took another look and found a specific gene mutation, age1, that could actually double the worm's lifespan. Then Cynthia Kenyon really ran with this, finding other genes, making these beaten worms sound sexy. Remember her quote?
The 80-year-olds who look 40.
That's the one.
Yeah.
It really captured the imagination.
Meanwhile, the skin-out folks had their own approach.
Yes, people like Michael Rose. He didn't engineer genes. He used classic Darwinian selection. He bred fruit flies, generation after generation, selecting only those that reproduce late in life.
And he got long-lived flies.
He did. Methuselah flies, he called them. This fit better with the evolutionary view that aging involves many genes and is a complex trade-off, not just a single switch.
So, different methods, but both pointing towards the possibility of extended lifespan. And we see long-lived creatures in nature, too.
Absolutely. Bats, naked mole rats, some squirrels, they live surprisingly long for their size. And it fits the disposable soma theory again. They tend to live in protected environments, caves, underground tunnels, gliding.
Less risk of being eaten?
Right. Lower extrinsic mortality. So evolution could favor investing more in bodily maintenance, an expensive maintenance plan leading to longer lives.
Okay, so we see it in nature, we can induce it in labs. What about actual drugs? Are there promising compounds?
Definitely. Rapamycin is a big one. It inhibits a protein called TOR, which is like a master switch for cell growth and metabolism linked to nutrient sensing. Giving rapamycin to middle-aged mice significantly boosted their lifespan.
Even when cellular started later in life, that's key.
Yes, that was a big finding. And it seems to work partly by boosting autophagy, that cellular cleanup process we talked about. It's even shown promise in models of diseases like Huntington's by helping clear out toxic proteins.
And sirtuins. We hear about those too.
Yes, sirtuins are another family of proteins involved in metabolism, DNA repair, stress resistance, also linked to longevity in some studies, though the story there is still unfolding.
What about simpler things? You mentioned lithium earlier.
Right. Lithium, commonly used for bipolar disorder and even some epilepsy drugs like valproate and carbamazepine, have shown some ability to induce autophagy in lab settings. It's intriguing that existing drugs might have these longevity-promoting side effects.
So progress on multiple fronts, but DeGray mentioned a weakest link. What was the really tough one for him?
Cancer. For a long time, even he felt it was the biggest hurdle. If you made cells live longer, don't you just increase the risk they turn cancerous?
That seems like a major paradox. Did he find a way around it?
He describes a eureka moment in an Italian cafe. His proposed solution involves tackling telomerase. That's the enzyme that rebuilds the ends of chromosomes, the telomeres.
Which normally shorten with each cell division, acting like a clock.
Exactly. Most normal body cells, somatic cells, have very little telomerase. But stem cells need it, and cancer cells often reactivate it to become immortal.
So what's his plan?
He calls it wilt whole-body interdiction of lengthening of telomeres. The idea is to eliminate the telomerase gene entirely from our somatic cells, making them strictly mortal, while finding ways to protect or replenish our essential stem cells that do need it. It's complex, but it targets the key mechanism cancer cells hijack.
So if all these fixes the 7 deadly things, cancer could be addressed. What then?
Then Aubrey talks about reaching longevity escape velocity.
Escape velocity. Like a rocket leaving Earth.
Kind of. It's the hypothetical point where science is improving life extension therapies faster than time is passing. So for every year you live, science gives you back more than a year of healthy life. Your expected lifespan keeps increasing indefinitely.
Wow, that really takes us into uncharted territory, doesn't it? Which leads perfectly to our final segment, the trouble with immortality, the yes and no.
Exactly, because even if it becomes scientifically possible, we hit this huge philosophical crossroads. Is it desirable? This question stirs up deep feelings, both longing and, frankly, dread. Enormous and imponderable questions, as the book puts it.
What's the biggest fear people raise?
Boredom seems to be a major one. The philosopher Seneca wondered if a person might choose death simply out of discrimination. Good taste, almost.
Like seen it all, done it all.
Perhaps. Ernst Haeckel called eternal life a fearful menace, cheekily imagining endless time with one's spouse and mother-in-law. More seriously, the philosopher Bernard Williams argued that death is what gives life meaning, shape, narrative. Without an end, does our story just unravel?
Lose its structure, its urgency.
Yeah, see that.
And beyond the personal, there are massive societal questions. What happens to population, resources, innovation if people stop dying? We already see challenges with global graying and falling birth rates in places like Italy. Would immortality amplify these issues?
Plus, just the sheer fragility of existence. Joshua Lederberg pointed out you still have accidents of existence, getting hit by a bus, and accidents from inside.
Rusting, as he put it. Things can still go wrong biologically, even if you cure aging itself.
But not everyone buys into this inevitable decline idea, even among scientists. Martin Raff.
Right. Raff is a highly respected biologist, and he finds aging, quote, not a very interesting biological problem.
Why not?
Because, he says, it's already solved by the Hydra. The Hydra doesn't age, so the potential for non-aging exists. He thinks our cells simply aren't set up for that kind of constant turnover. It's a design choice, in a way.
He has a more accepting view of mortality. Very much so. He quotes Leonard Cohen. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. He sees that crack mortality as perhaps necessary. Raff himself retired early to make way for the next generation, and quite remarkably, assisted his own parents in suicide with their blessing.
That's a profound commitment to that philosophy, a stark contrast to the drive for radical life extension.
It really is. And it brings us back to what we know works now. Forget the extreme claims for a moment. What's the solid advice? Tom Kirkwood, another expert, sums it up simply. Eat moderately and exercise moderately.
Back to basics. Distinguishing the hype may be things like resveratrol or HGH fads from the proven science.
Exactly. Even Aubrey de Grey, for all his radical ideas, ends his book with practical advice. Eat well, exercise, and support the Methuselah Foundation, which funds research.
So reflecting on this whole journey, it seems mortality is deeply woven into our biology. The book says it arose not once but twice.
Yeah, that's a striking thought. First, perhaps, in single-celled organisms like Tocopheria, and then again when multicellular life evolved, leading to the disposable soma strategy, this invention of aging, as the book calls it.
Might be part of what made us such a success on the planet Earth.
It's a paradox. We traded indefinite life, perhaps, for complexity, for consciousness, for memory. We gained the gift of memory, the author writes, of memories that can last all our lives, something the Hydra doesn't have.
So to wrap up this deep dive, we've seen this ancient human dream of immortality clash and merge with modern science. We've gone from myths and magic potions to molecular biology, genetic mutants, and these really audacious engineering plans like de Grey's.
We've explored why we age, the evolutionary trade-offs, the cellular garbage catastrophes, and we've seen the debates, the Methuselah wars within the field itself. It's clear gerontology is still, a young and turbulent science.
Absolutely. Key questions remain. Is aging one big problem to solve or many small ones? Can it truly be cured or just postponed? Are we nearing a limit or is significantly longer life genuinely on the horizon?
The answers aren't simple. Some see limits, others see breakthroughs continuing.
And that leaves you, the listener, here. We are mortals. We know this. We are, as the saying goes, glass, and we break, dust, and we return to dust. And yet, we strive, we dream, we research. We have something the Hydra lacks. This awareness of ourselves, stretching from our past towards an unknown future, possibilities surrounding our end. We know we exist, and we know we age.
That knowledge is both a burden and perhaps a gift.
It is. And the final thought we want to leave you with is this. Given that knowledge, how do you choose to live? How do you wrestle with that fundamental tension between acceptance and defiance of mortality? And what does that mean for the way you value and spend the finite, precious time you have?